Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network with your host, Will Huckabee and Mika Villas.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it's that time of the week. It's the time for the Wrestling Nerdcast. As usual, this is a fan-sponsored broadcast brought to you on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Huge shout-out to our sponsors, Indie Customs. Find them on Facebook. Find them on Twitter at Indie Customs. Our good friends at Pro Wrestling World. Be sure to check them out for all of your pro wrestling needs and find out who's doing what, when, where, why, and how, and not only WWE, but also in British wrestling, New Japan, Mexico, and the American Indies. And after you've done all that, be sure to say what's up to all of our friends over there at Behavior Driven for all of your, computer and technical needs. And if you're a professional wrestler and, you're not computer savvy like I am, then contact Behavior Driven for actual storage. I use them regularly because you all know I'm a professional wrestler and I wrestle 3 to 4 times a week. And I just don't know how to upload matches and store matches on the clouds and in the drives and all that other stuff. So I just talked to my good friends at Behavior Driven. They have over 2 or 3 terabytes of available storage for you for all of your storage needs. And they're 100% guaranteed not to get hacked. So if you got some videos that you don't want nobody to see, talk to our friends at Behavior Driven. Once again, I'm your host, the National Syndicate Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Champion, Combat Entertainment Georgia Heritage Champion, the Disrespectful Intellectual, the Southern Gentleman, the Morning Star, the Incredible Huck, the Reality TV Star, and National Treasure, Will Huckabee. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host. She's one half of the world's cutest commentary team. She is the voice of not only Combat Entertainment, but also Lucha Atlanta and a couple of other of your favorite promotions. She's the office, which means she works behind the scenes at almost every Georgia independent wrestling show. She is the lover of waffles, the voice of the speech impediment, the Aphrodite of affection. She is Miss Chicago Win, Miss Hashtag What That Mouth Do, a.k.a. Bob Me a Taco. Usually, every Tuesday night, she's sipping on some Himalayan water blessed by Tibetan monks. The one, the only, Mika Villas. What up, Mika?
I am just first of all, it is Tuesday. We're doing this. We're on a roll. It's a new year, new me, and you got a new lie. Oh my gosh, I am not The Office. Please stop telling people that I can get them booked. But if you believe that I can get you booked, by all means, guys and girls, monetary donations are welcomed. I got a Snapchat, I got a Twitter, I got a Vimo, I got a Zemo, I got a Cash App, whatever. I'll take your money. There.
You know what you don't got? You don't got a good service. You don't got a good signal. That's one thing you don't got. But look, Mika, at least I didn't tell anybody that you were the receiver of all things unsolicited. Okay, I haven't said that in a while. I haven't told people to send all unsolicited pictures and messages to you. So you should be happy.
I am semi-happy. I still get some, not as many as before, so thank you for cooling that off, bringing that down. I no pun intended. I appreciate it.
I feel like Jordan Grace stole our gimmick, man. I feel like she stole your gimmick when she released her book. You know what I'm saying? Her book with all those DMs and stuff. I feel like she stole your gimmick. You should be receiving royalties for that.
Listen, I'm pretty sure that she's getting some unsolicited things and has and will continue to get some. Nothing near about mine, or not that I don't know, high scale, high end, high quality, high demand, high in number, and I don't want them to be. She can have all the DMs like that if, that's the kind of smoke she wants. I don't snitch. I was told that dry snitching will get you in trouble. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm not writing a book.
What is this? Who told you about dry snitching?
Blacklist Uno told me not to dry snitch.
No, there you go. Okay, that's the motto. That's the motto for 2019. Live your best life, a.k.a. stop dry snitching. So the eventful weekend this weekend, Mika. First of all, I went and stopped by last Wednesday. We recorded last Tuesday. And Wednesday, I stopped by this promotion in Southern Georgia, Spinebuster Championship Wrestling. An amazing show. some people that we know were on the show: Jackson Vile, Rembrandt, Ryan Rembrandt, David Ali. They were all on the show. The crowd, they drew 497 paid.
Wow.
Yes, I was completely surprised by the draw. Amazing venue. Had some really good matches. Had some guys that already knew me. I walked in there, and I guess my reputation preceded me, but there was a couple of guys that I already knew that was in the locker room and stuff. The promoter and the booker were very gracious. But yeah, it was crazy. 497 paid, about 550 with comps, maybe less than that. I would say they had over 500 people in the building. The funny thing is, the show started at 7, was over with about 9:30. The crowd stayed the entire time, and they were white hot the entire time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering, like, professional wrestling is on the rise. Like, even in Southern Georgia, where they don't get a lot of, what's the word, Mika? A lot of kudos,
they don't get a lot of credit. Southern Georgia, you hear about Atlanta all the time. There's several promotions in and close to the Atlanta city limits where you can about entertainment, of course. MLA, there's places, Cornelia, you've got Anarchy and all that. You got One Fall. There's just lots of promotions in and very close to the city. But when you talk about Southern Georgia, people get a little dissuaded. They want to call it, the country, the sticks. But having that many people come out on a weekday night for wrestling, I think a lot of the city promotions here, I don't want to call them inner city promotions. That sounds a little weird. But a lot of the city promotions would be challenged to do such a thing. So kudos to the guys and girls and everybody down there in Southern Georgia doing it. Because, again, like you said, wrestling is on the rise. There is a demand for it in every way, shape, and form because wrestling does have something for everybody.
And then didn't do anything Thursday, but Friday there was a bunch of shows going on in the Georgia area. I myself was at AWN/NSW in Fort Valley, but I also know that One Fall had a show. There was also a Southern Honor show. What did you do Friday, Mika?
Friday, I went to the Southern Honor show, which was
because you're the office.
I am no. Let me be really clear on this. I am not the office at Southern Honor. I go in as a complete and total fan. As a matter of fact, those people at Southern Honor, they're a new promotion. I think this was their 5th, maybe 6th show. We can ask our guests, but those people don't know me there. So I am literally, truly one of the masses. I'm faceless when I walk in there. No one knows me. So I walked in as a fan. They put on great shows. They have named a lot of name talent on there. And I say name talent, meaning inside of Georgia in the Southeast, there are a lot of people who you would recognize, as well as some of our people who are into indie wrestling. And they're making stars or helping these guys and girls become bigger stars. And the production value is fantastic. The venue is nice. I wish the roof was a little bit higher so, it could do some more top rope shenanigans. But I walked in there from their first show. I've been to almost all their shows. There are a couple shows that I have missed. But this was another great show. Some controversy at the end of the show as a faction formed called the New Era. And then in doing so, they made a lot of people upset, and there was trash thrown into the ring at the ring, and a trash can struck one of the wrestlers. Danny Jordan got hit by this trash can. So, again, I was a total complete fan. I was really upset at the lack of security. Being that I am the office places or whatever, but just the things that happen at the end of the show with the trash and what have you, I was not a fan of. I was really upset, and that's it. But that was we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But that was my Friday.
I'll tell you what, for the powers that be over there at Southern Honor, for the wrestlers there, specifically Danny Jordan. I mean, don't get me wrong. In another lifetime, the Incredible Hulk did personal security. So My services are still available if you need somebody to make sure you don't get hit with a trash can. That my social media was blowing up with the pettiness of Ashton Starr when it came to Danny Jordan and his trash can. So he gave me the scoop about it Sunday, and I thought it was hilarious. Speaking about Sunday, Sunday was the first official Combat Entertainment. The company formerly known as Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment has now renamed themselves, rebranded themselves to Combat Entertainment. I guess you could say it's a new form of, I guess it's a new style of wrestling they're trying. I don't want to say it's a new style of wrestling because all wrestling is wrestling, no matter what type of wrestling you like to do, no matter what flavor of wrestling you have to do. But they rebranded themselves to Combat Entertainment. This past Sunday was the first show. Myself versus Joe Black started the show off hot. I'm still up from that match, Nika.
As you should be. As you should be. There is a clip online that Joe posted where you two traded blows. I'm going to go back to something that you said about Combat because I will guess I can say that I am part of the office. I am Blacklist Uno or Supreme Leader Blacklist Uno.
I told y'all people she was the office.
I've been officially relieved of my ring announcing duties there at Combat as I was doing them for Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, and Supreme Leader Uno has other duties for me within the company. But you mentioned the word wrestling, and that's something that we are getting away from. Combat is about character, it's about emotion, it's about conflict and sport. You and Joe definitely have conflict. The two of you hate each other, and it showed. Every strike, every move.
No, we don't hate each other, okay?
Yeah.
No, we don't hate each other, okay? Families fight. Families fight.
That
we're going through a rough time.
bears you ill will. I'm sorry. If you didn't feel that, yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, we don't hate each other. For the record, we don't hate each other. We're just,
as the video will come out later, no love there. That was absolute positive hate.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, it was a good show. It was a great show. I think the fans, it was a nice sized crowd, 70, 75 people in a very small venue.
Intimate venue. Very intimate.
Yeah, okay. That's a nice word to put. Very nice, intimate venue where you can have 75 people in there and it's packed, basically. So for all of our listeners and fans and stuff of wrestling in the Southeast, the next show is what, in 2 weeks? You definitely should check it out. The main event, I think, the poster's already out, and it's myself versus Fest Wrestling Champion. Help me pronounce his name, girl. I'm gonna mess it up. Saeed El Sabah.
That is good. Saeed El Sabah and yourself on the 27th of January, the last Sunday of this month, we'll be going at it. And a Combat season has begun. This was preseason we just had, but now we're starting off. There's a points-based system. Don't get worried about all the shenanigans with the points and what have you, guys and girls, because basically what you're going to see each and every time will be fights. Fights, and it will be like nothing else that you've seen out there because we want to get back into the sport and to entertain you at the same time. But it won't be funny. It will not be fun and games, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Fest Wrestling Champion. I like you. Don't get me wrong, but I really feel that Saeed has just that little something extra that will beat you. So I'm calling that right now.
And I'm going to go ahead and call it. This may be your last time being on this show, you traitor. Benedict Arnold. Anyway, speaking of traitors, we have a great, very, very, very special guest in the building. He is on his way to becoming the longest reigning Anarchy champion. And by Anarchy, ladies and gentlemen, I mean the real Anarchy Wrestling, the Church of Southern Wrestling. The company, the formerly known as NWA Anarchy, NWA Wildside, the church that AJ Styles made famous. That Anarchy Wrestling. He has been a champion at AWN and several other promotions around the Southeast area. He is a heathen. Jesus, he's a current WWN Evolve FIP star. He is a giant. When I say he's a giant, this man's 6'5", over 300 pounds. And in the words of the great legendary Ernie Ladd, he covers the ground that he walks on, ladies and gentlemen. He has one of the most legit finishes when it comes to professional wrestling. He's a friend of mine. He's a husband. He is a son. He is a soon-to-be father. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Logan Creed. What's up, Logan?
Bro, can you introduce me like every show I do from now? I need that.
I'm telling you, man. Look, I think that I'm about to be known more for my announcing people than actual wrestling. I'm telling you, I think that's going to be my life. After in-ring competition, I'm going to go around being people's special ring introductions and stuff.
You got it. You definitely got it.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I've been blessed with the gift of gab, the gift of jab. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get the ball rolling, man. How long have you been in this business, man?
I've been wrestling for 11 years. I got into it in 2004. I was playing football at Georgia Southern and ended up quitting football. Was just kind of tired of it. I was burnt out. I transferred to East Georgia College and started wrestling. Actually, they started a wrestling team the year I transferred over there. And one of the professors at the college, and you guys were talking about South Georgia wrestling earlier. Swainsboro, Georgia is where East Georgia College is at, so that is definitely South Georgia. He ran a show, and he saw me in the gym. We talked about it. Of course, I'd spent years watching it and doing it with friends and things like that. So I went out and trained, and it was all go from there. But I spent years, and literally when I say years, like years, just kind of hanging around, Middle Georgia, and I didn't really know how to get out of that. I didn't know how to network, because I was never taught that, because nobody there networked either. It was just they did their one show a month and they went home. And we just kind of looked at everything else going on. And back then, Wildside was still a thing. That was the place everybody wanted to be, but nobody ever went. And I didn't really know why. But so literally of that 11 years, the last 5 are really the only significant ones, and really the only ones that anybody that knows me now know about, besides people who were from that area.
So who actually introduced you to the business? Who actually trained you and stuff?
Do you remember Sean Hunter?
Yes.
You know that. You know who Sean is. Yeah. So Sean was as green as I was. But unfortunately, the guy who was supposed to be doing the training at this show, which was GPXW, you may or may not remember, that's a long time ago. But a guy named John Corsi was the promoter for the show. And but they didn't, the guy that was supposed to be doing the training, he never came. So thankfully, Sean, who was trying to get better himself, took the time to teach me what he knew. And when I went to actually AWN, you talked about AWN earlier. AWN was the first show outside of that one that I ever went to. And I met Tommy Too Much and Simon Sermon. And the first show I did, they set me down in the office afterwards and they said, "You suck." And they said, "But if you want to learn, keep coming." And at that time, AWN was running every Friday night, and they used to pack out that little building, man, every single week. So I did, I kept going back. The other 4 guys that come with us that day did not come back. And, but yeah, that's kind of like where I really got my feet wet and started learning, the business and learning what wrestling really was,
Now, I know that, like, when I first met you a couple of years ago, you had a completely different gimmick. And I remember I first saw it, I was like, who is this huge guy? Like, man, this guy's a star. And I had like maybe like a year or two when you were in the business, but I think by then I'd been traveling up and down the East Coast and stuff, and I saw you, and I was like, man, this guy has star written all over him. If he could just find a gimmick that works, like, Jesus, like, he found like some good gear and a good gimmick, like, this guy would be the truth. When did you realize that you need to switch up your gimmick and stuff, and that it just wasn't really working what you were doing before?
You know, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think there was always, I went through a couple of different names. When I started, way back when, I was known as Dine when I was in South Georgia. And then from there, it eventually became Logan Creed. And actually when POW started, I'm sure you remember that show. That was when I really come back to wrestling and not just doing like one show every other month. But that was when I changed it to Logan Creed. But at the time I was wearing, that Cyborg singlet and no face paint. I still had like half a head of hair of what hadn't fallen out yet. But it was a slow process. I thought about it. I started taking, we always talk about, and guys will tell you that you take parts of yourself and put it into the character that you are. And at that time, there was, I'd kind of hit a rough patch in life, and the heathen thing kind of come when me and Brooklyn met, and we jokingly would call ourselves heathens when we'd be on the road together. And eventually, we were riding, I think we were in Alabama one day, and I looked over, I was like, why aren't we just heathens? Like, why is it that our deal? And that's when I started doing it. And, then the face paint came, and then, like you said, the gear upgraded, because I actually just, I started taking parts of myself. I'm a huge comic book guy, and I know you're not Huck, even though you're the Incredible Huck, and I don't understand how you're not a comic book guy.
No. I'm a comic book. No, hold on, correction. I'm a comic book guy. I'm just not like a Japanese anime guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like my.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, yeah, but I drew it. I looked at all the figures that I had, and like, man, like I'll just draw my gear. Like, I'll design it like I'm a superhero. And so I did, and that's where my gear came from. Is I drew it, I designed it. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't an overnight deal, man. It took time, it took trial and error, like anything, and eventually I found something that worked for me.
Well, speaking of something that doesn't work, I'm gonna pass it over to my co-host Mika. Mika, what do you have for our guest tonight?
Wow, I'm gonna just let you have that one. Okay, so let's go back to because Huck said it, and it might have been fast for people who are not familiar with you. I want them to understand exactly how tall you are, because you're like bigger than most trees I've encountered.
I am 6'10" working, and when I say working, that means in full gear, boots, the whole nine. I weigh right at 307. So yeah, I'm a tree. That's a good way to put it. I'm really useful.
Seriously.
Mika, I told you, look, if they don't understand the Ernie Ladd reference, then damn it, they shouldn't be listening to this show.
Listen, old man, a lot of people, are younger than 80, and you're like 120. So I want to make sure that they understand that he is, again, super-duper tall. Not only is he super-duper tall, you're crazy athletic. Going back to before you were trained and while you were in school, you said were you playing what sport? Were you playing, I want to say the obvious basketball, but maybe football or track?
Yeah, never played basketball until I got out of school. And I love it. I love playing pickup ball now. But I never played it in school just because I was young. Football, it was always football. So yeah, I played football. I went to Georgia Southern out of high school to play football. I was there for a year, realized that football in college is no longer just a sport, it's a job, and I was just burnt out. and then I transferred and I wrestled at a 2-year college.
Okay. So you were talking about being on the road with Brooklyn, and for those who don't know, Brooklyn is your better half. I don't want to say you have bad halves, but
You got it right.
You're better half there. How is it traveling, going up and down the roads? You both are in the business, because a lot of people have a significant other that usually is a stay-at-home partner, but you guys are out there, you're out there together all the time. How does that affect your relationship in and out of the ring?
It's good. I mean, it's good. Like I enjoy wrestling more since her and I met than I did ever before. Just because it's nice to have that person that's, motivating you, encouraging you, but at the same time, we don't always get brutal honesty in wrestling. A lot of people will pat you on the back and tell you something was good, but it's brutal honesty with us. We don't cut each other any slack. But that's good because it makes us better. And, but yeah, I mean, we were talking about it on the podcast we did at the Georgia Awards show, but they were talking about how awesome it must be to live my life. Like it is. It's awesome. I get to share what I love and my passion with the person that I love in life. So it's a fun ride, Right now it's not so fun because she's ready to have this baby, but Are
you catching hell because she's not with you, or because she's like, damn it, I want this kid out so I can, are you catching any extra hell?
It's damn it, I want this kid out so I can get back on the road. That's what the deal is.
Okay, so while you're out here now, you're having some awesome matches. I've seen you a couple places. We talked about Southern Honor earlier, but I know you're pretty much everywhere. And now that you're everywhere and kind of out there, who are some of the people that you've been in the ring with that you're just totally like, my gosh, this guy or this girl, they're amazing. I would want to work with them all the time.
Austin Theory. The match he and I had was probably one of my favorite matches ever. He just gets it. And I train with Austin now some up at Gallows School. And he's 21 years old. He's only been in the business 2 years. And literally he's taught me more in 6 months than I learned the entire time before. He just gets it. You use the word prodigy, but he is. He sees wrestling completely different than anyone else. And it's not even just him. I love working with any of the guys that come from Fox's school. All of them are they're talented. They have a mind for how to work, and they have a mind for how to tell a story. And that's something that you can never, ever, ever get enough of if you're trying to pursue this as a career, because there's so many times that you don't ever want to go and just be a wasted night. And I'm sure Huck knows what I'm about that. I want to go and knock it out of the park every single time. And when you're working with the guys like that, you will, and you do, and you get better. So, definitely Austin. AC Mack is another guy I really like to work with. Kevin Ryan, actually, the match we had at Southern Honor was really good. We told a really good story. Because it's tough. A lot of guys, you don't get in the ring with a guy my size on the indie scene very often. And I think it's harder in some ways because you have to work it differently. There's a completely different story you have to tell than the average back and forth.
Right.
So, but it's fun. It's fun to learn from these guys, and they're all younger than me, but it's crazy because they get it,
Well, speaking of people who don't get it, I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about back to Huckabee. I'm sorry, I have to. He'll cry if I don't.
Boo, whatever, grandmama. Anyway, like I said by introduction, Logan, now you're right there you're training with Austin Theory, who we all know is going to be working for Vince soon. But you're working with the WWE Network as well. You're involved in FIP. What's it like going from the Indies to working at that level, and how has that helped you out in the ring, not only in the ring but away from the ring?
I'm not on Evolve yet. I'm not gonna. I want to brag and say that you're right, but I appreciate it, but not yet. I did have a Evolve tryout, and I got really good feedback. The only thing that they wanted to see more from me was travel. They wanted to see me outside of the Southeast. So that's kind of my goal set for this year is to get out of the Southeast and to really start working some shows in other parts of the country. But yeah, I am working for FIP at ACW, which is the American Combat Wrestling down in Newport Richey. And surprisingly enough, the first match, the first match I had with them where they looked at me and decided if they were going to use me or not was at ACW. They do a Wednesday night show every week. They call it Proving Ground, which is where they bring in, new talent and kind of scout them. I worked Saeed. So he is a phenomenal talent, and I really kind of want to watch you guys work because that'll be a really good show.
Oh, well, thank you.
By all means, come out and watch Huck get beat up, please. Come on out.
Whatever. How is going to that level? How has that helped you out as far as outside the ring about handling business and just your outlook on professional wrestling?
Oh, I told some guys, especially after I started doing FIP and I started getting around the business more, and especially last year when I went and I did Style Battle at Mania, and I was there all week, and I saw how it ran, and I think that was when I realized that there's a lot more to wrestling than just getting in the ring. There's a lot of work you have to put in behind the scenes to promote yourself and to get yourself to that level. I have it a little easier because when I walk in a room, people know that I'm a wrestler. Me and Huck were on the road together 2 weeks ago, so he'll tell you we walk in places and people just kind of stay.
Oh my God! We walked into a McDonald's, and literally the chick stopped for like 45 seconds when he walked behind me. Because he had just walked in. Like, she just stopped and looked at him, and then people had stopped eating when he walked in and were just looking at him like he was a circus sideshow freak or something.
Nobody's seen a walking tree before. That's why. If he had his face paint on too, I'd have been like, can I get a check, please? I don't know what's about to happen in here. This tree just walked in wearing face paint. I'm out.
Right. There was a little kid I thought there was a little kid inside McDonald's who literally asked his dad if that was Groot from like the Avengers or whatever.
So yeah,
either Groot or Thanos, because Logan has the bald head. So if he had been purple, he'd look like Thanos.
Which is funny because I get that a lot now, especially with the new gear. I hear people in the crowd saying, which is fine. I like that, because that's the inspiration definitely comes from.
I love it. You should snap your fingers, make people disappear, please.
Man, if I could do that, we'd all be working more. But yeah, no, it's definitely, it's a business, and it's not just a business, but there are so many people that are trying to get these spots, and I tell guys that, now, especially when I go to some of these, smaller shows and in other places, I'm like, they're not coming here to find you. They're not, because the guys that want it are going to them, and they're making themselves known to them on a weekly, monthly basis. They're sending emails. They're contacting them. They're, basically harassing them. But guess what? That's what you have to do. You have to let them know that you want to be there, because they're not coming to look for us. There's so much talent down there in Florida now. I mean, it's just unreal. And thankfully, because of that, you see all the things that are growing around us. I mean, the AEW, Ring of Honor is fixing to overhaul everything they've doing. They already started. Of course, you've got New Japan Wrestling, and everybody wants, a lot of guys want to travel over there, but it's going to keep growing. And just like you were talking about the Spinebuster show, drawing 500 people on Wednesday night. Guess why? Because there's nothing else down there, but people want to see wrestling. I've tried to encourage promoters to branch outside of North Georgia and come to, I live in Macon, and there's no besides AWN. That's probably Huck, the only show in 3 hours of here.
Yeah, it's about 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah, definitely is AWN.
Yeah, and there's nothing else close. So it's, people want to see it. People want to see wrestling, and people want to see, good wrestling. And that's what I think, I think Southern, AWE was already starting it when they started. I never worked for them, but I absolutely loved the show because I loved what they were doing. I loved that they were changing this Southern wrestling, old school style, and showing the world, showing the Southern fans a new style of wrestling. And I think Southern Honor is doing the same thing. And I really feel like that it's going to make people change the game.
Now, let me ask you this, because you were talking about people wanting to see good wrestling and stuff. And, the average wrestling fan is not a fan of death matches. But you just recently, last couple of months, actually had a death match up there for Matt Tremont. Was it H2O Wrestling? Was it? I already know because I asked you. We had talked about this stuff. But let all of our fans, listeners know, what is your thoughts? A, what is your thoughts on deathmatch wrestling? And B, now that you've had a deathmatch, and we're going to call you a deathmatch wrestler now, but now that you've had an actual deathmatch wrestling event, what is your feelings on it? What was your experience?
So I've always wanted to do a deathmatch. One of the first matches I remember seeing after I was a teenager was one of Japan's deathmatch tournaments, and I remember watching it and just being mesmerized by the entire thing, just everything that was going on. So that was, when I started, that was always something I wanted to do. I never really had an opportunity until this opportunity presented itself. I never want to do one again. I have nothing but no. It's brutal, man. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I loved it. But I'm pretty, and I don't want to scar myself up. So I've got enough scars from that one to last me. I've got stories to tell now. That's all I wanted.
Who did you work in that match?
Brad Cash.
Oh, God. I hate Brad Cash. I knew who it was. I just wanted to say I hated Brad Cash on tape.
I should have just said it to you sooner, because I know you did. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for better, because, me and Brad got close, and when the opportunity presented itself, and he told me, but he didn't even ask me. He just kind of threw it out there, and I think it was 2:00 in the morning when he threw it out there, and I messaged him immediately, and I was like, I'll do it. It was one of those where you say it, and then 4 hours later, you're like, did I really just say I'm going to do that? I was thinking, you know what I mean? But man, it was a lot of fun. It was different, and I told Brad, and this probably will put it in perspective for people who, I have the utmost respect for the guys that do it. I looked completely out of place at this show because I was the only person wearing a full set of gear and wrestling boots. And everybody kind of looked at me like, who the fuck is this guy? But when I've wrestled Brad in a wrestling match, and I've wrestled Brad in a death match. He is a completely different person in a death match than a wrestling match. And I told him, I said, man, if you would just do that every time, nobody would want to fuck with you. Because he's just a different animal. in that atmosphere. And that's why I enjoyed it the most, was just seeing that side of him and that side of how his expression of art in wrestling is definitely deathmatch. And so then that's really what it is. It's just another form of the art of wrestling. So yeah, I still love it, but I'm good. I've done one and I'm out.
Speaking of doing one and then getting out, Mika, what do you have? What else do you have for our guest tonight?
That just sounded horrible, so you know, okay? Thanks. No wonder my DMs are on fire. Anyway, you talked about working with Brad Cash and how you wrestled him, you've done the death match, and you're too pretty for that. I totally understand. Huck can do death matches forever. He ain't pretty. Is there anybody else you've worked with? We talked about working with Theory. Is there anybody out there that you've seen some of their stuff that you want to work with that you have not had the opportunity to yet? Yes. I'm sorry. Anybody good who you want to?
No, I do got to work, Huck. We've got to do that. It was supposed to happen. It didn't work out, but yeah, it's going to happen eventually for sure. No, everybody does their little list at the beginning of the year, which, it's whatever. But there was actually only one person, if I would have made a list this year, that I wanted to work. And it turns out that literally 2 days into the year, I got a phone call and it was like, hey, would you be interested in working Killer Cross? And I was like, well, fuck yeah, I'd be interested in working Killer Cross because that's the one guy I wanted to wrestle this year. So, I'm actually going to get the match that I want. And it's really because, I don't know if you watch him or if you see his stuff, but our gimmicks are very similar.
Yeah, extremely similar. He just has more clothes on than you do.
So and that's absolutely why I want to work with him, because, I see his stuff and his promos are out of this world. And I was like, his everything, it's a little bit different, but it's close enough that that we have that same mindset on what we're doing with our characters. So yeah, that's happening May the 3rd, May the 4th, actually in Cornelia at the Anarchy building for Disruptor Pro.
Well, that's going to be amazing. Anybody listening to this, get your butts out there, because 1, it's a great venue, and 2, that's going to be an awesome, awesome match. So, okay, so that for this year checked off. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to for this year? Because you've got this match thing down, and you want to work Huckabee. I don't know if that's looking forward or looking backwards, but that's cool. I'm not judging.
Cut him slack.
No. We're gonna say let's kind of touch back on Southern Honor, because I know you're heavily involved there, and I've watched you with this faction here. You're usually a 2-person faction with the Heathens. I think maybe there's been a couple times there have been other folks, but now you're a 3-person faction with Fear. How's that working with people who are, I guess, maybe new to you? I don't know what their relationship are with the other 2 people, but how is that working out there?
I think it's working. I like it. It's another one of those meetings of the minds where, that the monster character comes together with another, monster character. And, I know you said you've been to a couple of shows, so when we started the whole thing, it was kind of teasing that we were together, but, nobody really knew. And then by the second show, it was pretty obvious. But we were heels. And when myself and Austin worked, I realized, I was like, it doesn't matter, like, because the crowd loved us.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we went into this last show, wondering how it was going to work. And I was like, look, man, this is going to be the easiest turn in wrestling history. I was like, because literally when we walk out on stage in front of AC and Allen, they're going to lose their minds. And I was completely right, because that was all it took. And it's so funny that, characters like I think I'm more humanized than Sunny Days is, but the ability to, those kind of characters can get over so big as baby faces just shows you how much wrestling has changed over the years. But yeah, it's a cool dynamic. And you were talking about the end of the show. How crazy was that heat? There were so many rumors flying around that it was planted, that it was, that the show had people there that were doing that. I can 100% assure you that nobody was instructed to throw trash. Nobody was instructed to throw trash cans. It was very much just legit. People got pissed off. And you've got to think about you got a guy that's not just running a wrestling show, but Gary is also a preacher.
Right.
In this building. And you're looking at most of his congregation. Sometimes when you cross that line, people cross the line. It's real. So I was sitting in the back, and man, I loved it. I was watching it, and I knew something special was happening, because regardless of what happened, everybody was talking about it. Everybody. And let's face it, if everybody's talking about it, then everybody's wanting in on it.
True. Absolutely true. I mean, it was, I don't know about the instructed part. I just know that when trash started flying, I was like, hold on. What is wrong with you people? I'm like, I'm not security, but stop,
Yeah, and that is something to be addressed. And I know it has been addressed and will be addressed, because they weren't ready for that. And it's not the first time security's kind of fallen short on doing their job. And I don't think that security has necessarily ever been security for a wrestling show in that venue. So I think that's part of the problem, is they just don't know how to handle a wrestling crowd yet. But like I said, it's going to be addressed. I know for a fact it's going to be addressed and has been addressed already. But yeah, that was insane. That was good stuff. It's going to be really good to see it move forward and how it all plays out.
Yeah, that was definitely baptism by fire for that security team there in a church. And you talked about how it was easy for you guys to kind of just transition into faces or to good guys. I watched during the intermission the lobby fill with people to come to take pictures and to talk to you guys. I mean, from the youngest child to the oldest person, it was just amazing that there was, no pun intended, there was no fear to step up to fear.
I like that.
Yeah, and is that different for you? Is that cool? Is that something that you're comfortable with, or is it just something that you were just like, wow, mind blowing?
No, like, I've been a babyface for years now. Like, honestly, when I went to Florida, when I started with ACW and FLP, they were the first people to bring me in and say, you're a heel. And they were really the first people that understood the concept of me and Brooklyn's gimmick together, because it was always supposed to be, and me and Huck talked about this when we were together last time. I wanted her to be the centerpiece. She, in a world where women's revolution and women's wrestling is on the rise. And I told her, I said, how come you don't just want the world title? Why do you want the world title? I was like, and you've got the tool to get it. You know what I mean? Just like, why would a woman want to be vice president when she could be president? You see what I'm saying? Like, so that was how I always envisioned the gimmick to go, is her as the centerpiece, and I was just the machine behind her. And they knew exactly what it should be without me opening my mouth when we got down there. And that was really the first place that used me as a heel. And it went over, great, of course, until I got her pregnant.
Well, that's a heel move right there, huh?
I was about to say, like, just ruin the storyline, kid. You just ruined the story.
Hey, trust me. I know. Everybody kind of looked around the room and was like, really, Logan? Really? Thanks for ruining the now I know it's a TV for us.
Finally get your break, and here you go knocking somebody up.
That's why we're heathens, man. I'll just get another one. We'll just find another one. Stab me. But no, and Anarchy kind of gave me, the ball and ran with it too, with the heel turn that I have there. And you were talking about that earlier. There hasn't. I think I just passed Iceberg as far as the longest reigning Anarchy champion, and it worked there. The heel turn worked there, and it gave me an opportunity with Brooklyn being out to kind of take on my own dynamic, and kind of once again bring on a new persona of who Logan Creed is.
Well, speaking of new personas and people who need them, finally back to William Huckabee.
Boo, Mika, boo. Logan, I know our time is running short. Let's got a few more questions. And this is about Logan Creed, the man and stuff. You've already said that you're waiting for the baby Heathen to be born so you and Brooklyn can get back on the road as the original Heathen. Do you think that fatherhood is going to change you as far as being a professional wrestler?
It hasn't so far. I mean, we have 2 boys already, and if they're not on the road with us, then we've got a very good support system at our back that can take care of them when we're on the road, and just like right now, she's not traveling with me, but there's never a moment where she argues me leaving the house. You know what I mean? She throws the bag in the truck for me. Like, see it. But again, that goes back to her having the same dream and the same passion. She knows that it would be a waste of time to tell me no. So, but no, it's not. I don't think it if anything, I think it encourages me to push that much harder and make this something that's going to make me a living, instead of just something that I'm doing, 3 or 4 days a week.
Now, you already got 2 boys. What are you going to do if you're saying this one is a girl?
This one's a girl?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Come on, Huck, we talked about this. It's a boy. Don't do that.
I'm just saying, doctors have been wrong. If it comes out, and you got a baby,
how big she's gonna be?
Well, yes. Maybe she'll take out. Hopefully, she'll take after her mother. But seriously, because as a father of 3 girls and stuff, I know that how I see the world not only in regular life, but professional wrestling has changed so much as my daughters grow up. Do you think that your outlook on life and the professional wrestling business is going to change if you happen to have a little girl?
Oh, man, the life I've lived, if I had a little girl, it would be bad. Yeah, karma's bad.
Karma.
Do you hear him stirring? Do you hear him? He's working. Stop saying that, please. I'm a girl and I'm working on it.
I'm going to go ahead and let you off the hook with that. I'm going to let you off the hook with that one, Logan. All right, here's another question then. If your kids come up and they say, hey, Daddy, I want to be a professional wrestler, who's going to be the first person you send them to get trained?
Ooh. It depends, man. If Fox is still around, I'm probably going to send them to Fox. Fox or QT, for sure.
And I'm asking that because my youngest daughter's like, Daddy, I want to be a pro wrestler when I grow up. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're still in the do when you turn like 17, like I'll send you to a school. And she's about to be 13 this year. And she's still adamant about it. Now I'm starting to look around like, okay, what's the best school I can send her to where they're not going to try to like take her for her money or, try to me too my child or some shit, take advantage of her. So I was just wondering, like, you've already mentioned QT and AR Fox. Who else is who else are trainers that you would possibly consider training your child?
I think Francisco Chiazzo at the WWN Training Center, for sure. That's, of course, if you're going to go somewhere to train and you want a really huge jump start in the business, then you couldn't really pick anywhere better. But, you got QT. He's right there in line with ROH. His guys are getting opportunities on bigger shows. Fox's school is WWN sanctioned, and all of his kids are getting opportunities with them. So I would definitely tell anybody that's getting into professional wrestling, especially knowing how I came into it and not knowing that there was schools that I could have actually went to instead of just throwing away a lot of money to someone who didn't teach me anything, to go to a school that's sanctioned or associated with a show that, a bigger name show, because it's just a foot in the door. It's a foot in the door, and we all know that that's something that's really hard to do, is get your foot in the right doors.
Now, one of my last few questions. Here we go. Because this is also something we talked about with in Carolina and stuff. When you look around now in the locker room and stuff, do you feel like the old man? And when was the first time, or do you remember the first time somebody actually called you a vet and started recognizing and saying, "Hey, you're the vet"?
I don't feel like the old guy yet, and I'm glad that I don't. Sometimes I wonder, especially some days after 3 or 4 matches on a Monday morning, you're kind of like, man, I'm getting really old. But I guess Anarchy would be the first place that I realized that I had taken on that role. And when Rick brought me in, before I actually was wrestling at Anarchy, he does this Friday night show, and last year, 2018, NCW was running every other Friday night, and there was just a lot of green kids in there, and he brought me in, and I really feel like he brought me in for that reason. Is Rick's always been one of those guys that he likes to see how people react to situations. He watches. He's a watcher. And he's watched me for years. I mean, we've had the conversation before that the first time he ever met me, just like you said, Hug, he told me, he said, you were big, you had the size, but you didn't have the look, and there just something hadn't clicked yet. And he's like, so I just didn't use you. And he said, it wasn't until I saw you 2 years later, I was like, oh, he gets it now. So, I think he brought me in to be that vet, and to realize that I could be that person, and that I could be a leader in a locker room. So yeah, and it's changed again my outlook on wrestling in every locker room I go with, because I know that I do have that experience. I do know things that a lot of people don't. I've dealt with things and been through things that a lot of guys haven't. So I have the ability to help them not make the same mistakes I did. And that's what being a vet is all about, is teaching other people what not to do so they don't make the same mistakes you did.
Now, last question before we wrap this up. What are you going to do when it's time to hang the boots up and stuff? What is going to be life for Logan Creed after in-ring competition? Like, do you think you want to be a booker, an agent, a talent scout, a promoter? Do you got any plans for what you're going to do after you get done with in-ring competition?
It kind of depends on where I'm at. If I've gotten to a point where I feel like that I can have a school or something, I'd love to be a trainer. I've always wanted to be a teacher. That was actually a dream of mine, in college. And so, I think I would enjoy a role where I was teaching people about wrestling and how to wrestle and, all the aspects of it. But yeah, I haven't given a whole lot of thought to that yet, because I'm kind of like right in the meat grind of it, man. So I haven't even considered what happens afterwards.
All right. Well, Logan, now it's time for us to wrap this up. This is what we call the lightning round. I ask you a couple questions, and depending on your answers, decide whether or not we're going to consider you a friend of the show and ask you to come back on in a later date. All right. All right. Question number one: Sheetz, Wawa, or QT?
Say it one more time. I didn't hear you.
I said you got to take one between Sheetz, Wawa, and QT. Which one is it?
QT.
I'll give you that because you're a Georgia guy. I'll give you that. We don't really have Sheetz around here. I'll give you that. IHOP or Waffle House?
IHOP.
What? Don't disappoint
IHOP.
I'm down with that. It's fine. The man has taste.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure song. It's 2:00 in the morning. You're riding home after a weekend of shows, and this song comes on the radio, and you start jamming. What's your guilty pleasure song?
Oh, the song I'm listening to? Man, Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, all day, every day.
I feel like I have no other judge because
you heard me sing along to that.
if I'm ever driving on the highway and I see a 6'10" man singing My Heart Will Go On, I feel like I'll probably crash my car. Oh God! All right, last question. Top three favorite opponents.
Top three favorite opponents.
Yes.
Theory, Michael Judas, and Drew Adler.
Notice for the record, Mika, he didn't say me because we haven't wrestled yet. But once we wrestle, I'm gonna be in the top three.
I wouldn't bank on that, sir.
Anyway, Logan, not paying attention to Mika. This is the time of the show where we tell you purposely to get your shit in. This is a chance we ask you for all your social media and what upcoming appearances you have so that our fans and listeners may become fans and listeners of yours. So go ahead, all your social media and what shows you got coming up.
We've got FIP coming up 2 Sundays from now on the 27th. You've got Anarchy Wrestling on the 26th. Weekend after that is Southern Honor and ACW and Newport Richie. And the week after that, we're back at Anarchy again. The week after that, we're going to Nashville, Tennessee for a Lucha show. And then what's after that? OSCW in South Carolina.
Back to Florida.
Yeah. Just keeps rolling. Mika's gonna book me at AWE's new show, Winky Face, Iggy. Hold
on. Logan, is that Brooklyn in the background telling you where you're supposed to be at?
It is. Yeah. Well, I mean, she gotta do it. You keep that good for me. Come on.
We gotta have a baby.
Hey, Brooklyn.
Hello.
All I hear is in the background. You're just in the back. Oh, it's CW. It's like, oh yeah.
Somewhere amongst all of the things, we're gonna have a baby. So.
We gotta ask. When's the due date?
It's February 2nd.
Okay.
For the record, my birthday is February 3rd. Super Bowl Sunday is my birthday. I think that William is a great name.
Yeah. So you can't have them then, for sure.
We're being induced around the 30th, so.
Okay. I'm just saying.
The baby's not going over time. Baby's gonna keep to the time, huh? Like, oh, we're doing this induction on the 30th. You're not going long here, kid. I got you.
I'm raising professionals around here.
Right, professionals arrive early, right?
Stick to your time, kids. Stick to your time. You only get 9 months.
Every night I'm laying like right on her stomach, and I'm saying, "Hey, Monday through Thursday, all right? Like that's Monday through Thursday. We don't do weekends. We got things going on." So we're gonna figure out real quick whether or not he's gonna be an asshole or not. Because if he comes on the weekend, he didn't know the word I said.
Oh man. Logan, go ahead and give us your social media for not only you but also for the lovely, amazing Brooklyn. So our favorite listeners know where to follow you at.
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all of them at the Logan Creed. And also on YouTube is Brooklyn. Yeah.
Not Brooklyn, YouTube.
Yeah, Brooklyn Creed on YouTube. Brooklyn also is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. If you'd like to follow us on Snapchat, you can listen to me sing Celine Dion. That's also at the Logan Creed.
Careful what you wish for with Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat can get a little.
I'm not scared. I'm going right now.
yeah, that's what. Yeah, Brooklyn said it best. Snapchat can get a little heathen, so. But no, yeah, please follow me, everybody listening, and I appreciate the support, the love. Keep supporting independent wrestling. Keep supporting wrestling in general. Whatever kind of show you watch, go watch it and enjoy it and support every single guy that gets in the ring, because at the end of the day, we're chasing what we love, and it's art. A lot of people try to trash that, but we're making art, and it's a thing of beauty, and it's really one of the last forms of Shakespeare that we still have. So support it, love it.
And buy your merch.
And buy my merch. Yeah. I have T-shirts.
Buy his merch.
We'll be releasing a new T-shirt soon. That design will be dropped on Facebook in the near future. So, yeah. And buy Huckabee stuff, too, because he needs it.
Yeah, I got kids. He could have stole my gimmick. I got kids.
Oh, gosh.
Well, Logan, thank you. Thank you for being a guest of the show, man. I will see you down the road, all right?
Yeah, hey, so the Spinebuster show, you on it? You doing it?
We're in talks. I do believe that I will be making my debut at Spinebuster in February.
Well, then we'll see each other then for sure.
Definitely, man. Hopefully by then you'll have the baby. Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have a good night, all right?
All right, brother. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Mika.
Yes.
I'm not going to say Logan Creed, the Creed family.
Behind every great man, and in this case, behind a tall damn tree is a powerful woman. I love how she was there. Was there, like, probably the whole time, kind of helping him out, feeding him cues or whatever, like, let him know, like, hey, don't forget this, don't forget that. I'm pretty sure, especially in the pregnancy state, you're more maternal, so you're taking care of all types of business, so she was probably there doing bookings, cooking dinner, getting kicked in the stomach by this kid, and making sure that he got everything that he needed to say on the podcast said. So I love it.
Yeah, probably making sure he didn't say anything he wasn't supposed to say as well. Like
making sure he wasn't full heathen without her permission. That's what it was.
Exactly. But no, it's a good show. Like I said, Logan Creed, man, you never realize how tall he is until you're standing next to him, and then no matter how big you are, you still feel small.
I mean, I was at Southern Honor, and he, again, I don't, like, look up to people, like, when I'm standing back away from you about 50 feet, and my head was still craned upward, and I was like, he is blocking out the lights. What the hell? Little kids are holding on his legs. I don't think he felt it. I mean, he's that damn tall. It's ridiculous. It's awesome, but it's ridiculous. He's super tall.
He's just tall and big. He's what I like to call a true throwback to the era of giants, man. He's just a giant guy, but he's an amazing guy, just miles of potential. Not only him, but Brooklyn as well. Just I really feel like those two are going to go very, very far in this business.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of far, Mika, what you got going on this weekend?
Wow, this weekend is going to be interesting. I'm looking to perhaps do a little quest to the Queendom. Queens of Combat is happening, I believe, this weekend in North Carolina, and I may make the way up there. That's a Saturday show. If I don't make my way to the Carolinas, there's plenty of things happening here in and around Atlanta, but my goal is to try to get out to see those ladies. I know Diamante of TNA Impact fame, who is the Queens of Combat champion. She beat Su Young, so she is now the queen of all queens of the combat. She is scheduled to appear, and I want to see her because if you beat Sue, you're a badass, and she definitely is a badass. I'm kind of gearing up toward the 27th when we have Combat Entertainment kick back in Jonesboro. Again, I am no longer ring announcer, but I have other duties there as I'm part of the office, as you like to say, that I need to attend to. So I've got I got a lot of emails and things. I got a lot of emails and phone calls and handshakes and all this other stuff to attend to during the week, but I'm still going to make my way out to some shows. So be looking out on my social media, guys. Mika Villas on every social media platform, and I will keep you all abreast of what I'm doing. See what I did there? Abreast.
Boo, see, you about to get me too. You about to get me too, buddy. I'm telling you, you can't talk like that. You said you got Gillette commercials now and stuff. You can't be talking like that. All right? The boys can no longer just be boys. But that's a topic for a different podcast.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, Mika. I'm doing absolutely nothing wrestling related this weekend.
Wow, you're taking a weekend off. That's amazing.
I'm taking a much needed weekend off. I'm actually not really wrestling until the next Combat Entertainment show. Just because usually during the end of the year and stuff, I usually take a break around the last 2, maybe 3 weeks of December, just to let my body recuperate and rest up from wrestling, 49, 50 weekends straight, several days a week throughout much of the year. Last year I had over like 150, between 150 and 175 matches. So, it just takes a toll on your body. And the last couple of weeks, I've really been feeling it, especially around short of the year. I was really feeling it with that match. This last match with Joe, I could definitely tell my body was just banged up and beat up. And so I'm just taking the next 2 weeks. I'm going to enjoy getting acclimated to living in Atlanta. I'm going to relax with the family. And I'm just going to take it easy and really just try to avoid social media for like 2 to 3 straight days. So, yeah, that's it. If I do decide to get on Facebook or social media or whatever, it's William Huckabee on Facebook, William Huckabee on Instagram, W.A. Huckabee on Twitter. And then we have this podcast and our Twitter and stuff, the rest of Nerdcast on Twitter. So be sure to follow us. Stay tuned. Follow Mika on Snapchat. Don't forget to send her all things unsolicited. Anything else, Mika, before we wrap this up?
Thank you. As per usual, you did an awesome job tonight. See, I can give you compliments. I won't do this often, but yeah. Good job.
Thank you so much.
I'm clearly drunk.
As usual, I would say good old Himalayan water, bust out the bed mom. As usual, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wrestling Nerdcast on the AngryMarks Podcast Network. If you love what you've heard with not only Logan Creed, but all of our past guests, be sure to go on the AngryMarks Podcast website. You can check out all of our shows in the archive. We have guests with everybody like the aforementioned Stu Young, Ronnie Nicole, Zombie Dragon, you name it, we've had them on this damn show. But on behalf of our network, the AngryMarks Podcast, on behalf of our sponsors, Indie Customs, Pro Wrestling World, and Behavior Driven, huge shout out to our guest tonight, Logan Creed, and his amazing wife, Brooklyn Creed, and by proxy, Baby Heathen Creed. I am, on behalf of my co-host, one half of the world's cutest commentary team, the lover of waffles, the voice of the speech impediment, the receiver of all things unsolicited, Miss Chicago Win, Mrs. # What That Mouth Do, a.k.a. Buy Me a Taco, the one and only Mika Villas. I am the National Syndicate Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, your Combat Entertainment Georgia Heritage Champion, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Champion, the Disrespectful Intellectual, the Southern Gentleman, the Mid-Atlantic Bully, the Reality TV Star and National Treasure, the Morning Star, the Incredible Will Huckabee, saying peace out and support indie wrestling.
Bye.